Every morning, the countdown begins for the markets with meticulous research and analysis designed to help you capitalize on the trading day. Beaming live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studio.
Well, the pictures made it absolutely clear, and I think the visuals here, all three of us in blue, I think, as they say, picture tells 1,000 words and, the whole story, and I think it's absolutely undeniable how all of us feel today. It's Team India, women's cricket, and a big, big win last evening. This is Bazaar Morning Call. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Surabhi and Nigel. Guys, morning.
Ooh, morning. We all, I think, slept too few hours, but that is not a problem at all, is it? Because the women in blue are on top. They're shining. A lot of people are equating this to the 1983 World Cup moment for women's sport here in India. And I can tell you guys, is this, never a feminist, like I say, but this one is more about the game. It's more about the win. It's more about a World Cup. It's a huge moment for women and girls in this country.
Well, just
happy.
Just take a look at the celebration up there. And the coach himself, Amol Majumdar, one of the best domestic players, coaching the side to that victory. The girls in blue made us so proud yesterday. Goosebumps as we started the show itself. It's just been a few hours since they're world champions. And just take a look at those visuals. Absolutely fantastic visuals. The girls in blue, you'll have done us proud. And I tell you what, from here on, Indian women's cricket will just go from strength to strength. What a moment, guys. What a moment.
Absolutely. And obviously, the congratulations are pouring in across lines. A lot of, cricketers, members of the India 11 men's squad, they've been celebrating. But I thought Sachin Tendulkar's tweet really summed up that emotion. And he was also among those who, kind of equated this to the 1983 World Cup moment, talking about why. Okay, great. We have that quote up. 1983 inspired an entire generation to dream big and chase those dreams. Today, our women's cricket team has done something truly special, inspiring countless young girls across the country to pick up bat and ball, take the field and believe that they too can lift that trophy one day. It's inspiration beyond what can be captured.
Absolutely. And I think, each of these girls, right? I mean, I've not followed women's cricket that closely, but each of these girls, I was reading the Indian Express, and by the way, the newspapers are full of stories about, the backstories about each of these women.
Yeah.
Shefali says,
what a cracker.
who cut her hair short just to sneak into boys' games, right? Deepti from Agra, and who, of course, who traveled 12 kilometers a day to train, who's got now a street named after her in the city of Taj. Amanjot, who wasn't allowed to play by boys in her neighborhood. And so it goes. These are,
And, they tell you, for women to go out there, and we always talk about glass ceilings, etc., but to go out there in a game that's predominantly been a boys' game, a game of endurance, to convince your families to back you, to convince, that whole conversation about, okay, what happens when you get married and all, to go past all that, to go past how you look, and go out there and conquer. It's a huge...
And there were a couple of games in this tournament itself and you would have ruled them out. They would have said the tournament is done for them. But they came back, the girls in blue, and they fought on. And just one point with regard to this entire 1983 buzz. Yes, it's the 1983 moment, but I'll tell you what. We won't have to wait that long because people like me who were born after 1983, we didn't see a World Cup win for many years.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, the girls in blue, we won't have to wait so long, going by the performance, going by the momentum. 1983 moment, yes, but we won't have to wait so long to lift the trophy
and that's
yet again.
what Harmanpreet said, right? That this is not just a culmination. Yes, it is a win for all the senior players, all the women players who've been leading up to the moment.
I was reading this article to my son in the morning, and I said, the article goes on about how they were ignored and, basically not as much limelight, infrastructure, facilities that the boys cricket got. Well, he looked at me and said, well, isn't it a little ironical for the newspaper to say all these things and in the first place not cover them? Why, all this while. So,
I think a lot of that is going to change. A lot of that is going to change forever and for the better.
Yeah. I think we'll, of course, continue to get you pictures, and it's a seminal moment in that sense, and I don't use that word lightly. Let's just now turn our attention back to markets, financial markets, and where we stand before we go any further. So, as always, I think we'll pick it up from Friday's session. Which is, of course, a better day. Thursday was bad, remember, and there were some murmurs that maybe the market in the US is also starting to see the first signs of correction. It's going to roll over, etc., etc. Actually, Thursday's session was the worst it had since June, on the back of some numbers, etc., no doubt. But then Friday, equities in the US came back up. Nothing very large, but about 0.25%, 0.3% in that sense. Now, China, in new sort of news, post-market hour news, China is going to suspend some curbs on rare earth exports, and also it's going to sort of suspend some US chip firm probes. So it's de-escalation, what was agreed upon. No progress on the government shutdown in the US. It's entered its 6th week. And I think, I was reading that if this shutdown goes past the 5th of this month, it's going to be the longest shutdown ever. So there you go. There you have it, which means that no data, right? Data releases continue to be impacted. The ADP is the private payrolls number, is the main data release that we will get on Wednesday. By the way, Wednesday is also market holiday here in India, but that's, of course, so it's a midweek break. Now, the US 10-year yield hit 4.115, so it spiked to about that level, and it ended at about 4.07 or so. So it kind of completely cooled off. Treasuries rallied by the end of it. Over the weekend, OPEC Plus has agreed to boost oil production next month, but by a much smaller amount, so 137,000 barrels per day. It's not moving oil prices at all. But it's also saying that it will pause further output hikes in the first quarter of 2026 to avoid a glut in oil prices. So a glut in oil and then oil prices as well. Gold, there is some news, but it's kind of sort of, tangential. China is scrapping a long-standing tax break on gold, which basically made gold very affordable for China. Chinese consumers and Chinese retail consumers are some of the biggest buyers of gold in the world. There are reports which say, just staying with global but also local for one bit more, that India is planning to almost triple its incentives for rare earth magnet manufacturing to over 7,000 odd crore rupees. So, and this is something that we've heard from investors here as well. Look for some of these themes where the government is a big supporter and you've got that tailwind behind you. Big earnings, actually through the course of the week, you got some large numbers. Today, Bharti, Titan, Tata Consumer, Mahindra & Mahindra, among others, which will report. And now I come to levels then. So, Nifty saw some follow-up selling on Friday. For the week, though, the market was kind of flat. We ended on the Nifty below the 40-hourly exponential moving average. It was a negative weekly close. Small, but it was a negative weekly close. The one sector which really stood out over the 5 trading sessions was the PSU bank space. The index itself was up 5%, and I suspect lots of technical analysts will look for trades in that bucket more than anywhere else. There is momentum and there is volumes there as well. I'll just list out the supports. The resistance levels are the recent highs, so I'm not going to go there. 25,700 for the Nifty is basically the lower end of the range, and 25,526 is where the 20-day moving average comes in. 25,350 or so is where the 40-day, but we'll take it step by step. Nifty Bank also closed on Friday below the 40-hourly exponential moving average. And here, the support is the swing low of 58,232 and then 57,340 is the next number. GIFT Nifty will give you a quick sense of how we're likely to start, and then we'll pick it up from there. 56 odd points lower is the start this morning. Nigel, over to you.
Well, I'll tell you what, that softest start will be encouraging for the Bulls' perspective. I'll tell you what, because last night we have this momentum that's coming in from the cricket game, and hopefully the Bulls as well can get some momentum going, which has been lacking in the last couple of trading sessions. Let's explain this to you. One problem pocket has been the FIs. They were sellers, they turned neutral, now they're selling for the last few trading sessions. You don't want that to weigh as well. So in the cash market flows, you don't want the FI selling to get too large. Well, moving to the FIs and index futures, they added some shorts. We were saying a few sessions ago that we were missing shorts in the system. They've granted your bill. They've gone ahead and added some short positioning. It remains at around 84%. And from the start of the series, you'll see that the FI net short positions has moved up by close to around 25,000 contracts or thereabouts, from less than a lakh contracts to around 1.2 lakh contracts. The clients on the flip side, well, they were net long with close to around 75,000 positions on the long side. They've added close to around 10,000 contracts in the last few trading sessions. So clients long, not very, very aggressively net long, while FIs, they are net short. Normally, this combination is quite good. And if they move to different directions, actually, history suggests that it's quite good. Even on stock futures, normally there's an arbitrage that takes place out there, but there were shorts that were added on stock futures as well. Moving to the options data, the FIs, well, they wrote calls aggressively. So close to around 3 calls were written for every one put in Friday's trading session. So the positioning itself seems to have turned a little bit bearish from the FIs, which is good actually, because you've seen those shorts can get caught out on the wrong side. And the PCR has moved to the lower end of the range. So that's one encouraging data point. Normally at around 0.6, 0.65, we do see a bit of a bounce. So that's why I'm saying the GIFT 50 suggesting a soft start actually could be music to the ears of the bulls, because you're bracing for a bit of a pullback intraday itself. And the reason the PCR came down is because the call writers, they are making merry. Aggressive call writing is what we saw, though we have the 25,700 put as well that was fairly active. That brings us to the levels. Till this 20 DMA holds out, which is at around 25,500, you'll have to say that the bulls believe there is some unfinished business at higher levels. So, you'll want that level to not get breached at 25,500, 25,700 going by the options data. You'll want this, the recent high as well. That'll be a bit of a resistance mark, which is at around 25,950. On the Nifty Bank, it's going to be quite crucial, and I'll tell you why. Because on a day-to-day basis, the Nifty Bank has been making lower lows. So you'll want this actually to break, this lower lows kind of trend. So the Nifty Bank will have to find its form. It's in a decent pullback from the recent high. So the Nifty is going to be starting off a little bit softish. Various technical indicators, whether there's a short positioning or the PCR indicates that maybe in today we do see a bit of a bounce. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, absolutely. By the way, across Asian screens, it's a bit of a mixed picture. Japan is today shut for a local holiday. The China market has just seen the release of the private sector PMI numbers, which are a little shy of expectations. There's also deceleration in October compared to September. But despite that, there are incremental gains, at least in the Hong Kong markets. Mainland China is a little soft, but Hong Kong, Taiwan holding up, as is Singapore. So not too bad across Asian screens, but like the implied open just told you, for us, it's still probably going to be a bit of a cautious start, 58 points lower at this point in time.